Hi, welcome to part 30 on the Lackawanna Cut-Off. The Clarks Summit-Hallstead, Pennsylvania Cut-Off revisited again with Josh Stull, who we'll bring in just a moment. Hi, I'm Chuck Walsh. And we're back here at Nicholson, Pennsylvania at the 1849 station. Now today we have a fairly ambitious itinerary. We're going to first of all bring in Josh, and he'll tell us a little bit about what's happening with the station, because that renovation is ongoing of this old station. Then we're going to go to the other Nicholson station, which is up on the cutoff next to the viaduct here. After that, we're going to be headed to Factoryville, and we'll show you some things over there, including a tunnel, for example. And then we're going into the opposite direction. We're going to go north or west, depending how you look at it, on the railroad, Route 11 here, which was the old line. And we will go up to, first of all, Kingsley, and we're going to look around there. And then we're going to go back to Alford, but we'll do a little bit different stuff at Alford than we've done in the past. So why don't we bring Josh in here, and here you go.
Thank you.
And you can tell us what you want to tell us about how the station is going, and well, take it from there, basically.
Great. Thanks, Chuck. It's great to be back. I always look forward to our mini tours of the Pennsylvania Cut-Off. So yeah, so in terms of the Nicholson station, the passenger and freight station here behind me, the last time you were here, or we were here, they've done some work on the inside, and they've started to finish the railings on the platform. So it's pretty much 92% done. There's a water sewer hookup that's actually going to start within the next couple weeks. We received a Wyoming County History Alive grant to cover that, and so we thank the Wyoming County Commissioners for giving us that grant. And then once the water sewer is hooked up, then the contractor will come back and finish the sprinkler system, electrical work, and then finish the railings on the platform. And then it'll be done. And so in terms of timing, I mean, it looks like it's going to be by the end of the year. I'm not sure when you'll have this video processed, but every year Nicholson hosts something called Bridge Day. It's always the second Sunday in September. It is going to be held this year by the Nicholson Women's Club. Usually it's on Main Street, but this year it's going to be held at the Fireman's Carnival Grounds down on State Street, otherwise known as the Viaduct Valleyway Scenic Byway. And so unfortunately it won't be open by then, but you know, we're hoping and aiming by the end of the year. And I'll definitely keep Chuck posted. I also want to talk a little bit about the inside, what else we're working on. We received a grant for display cases as well as for a passenger bench to be put in the passenger room. And we'll take some photos so you can see the inside. Last time we were here, the passenger room had lots of, there was wood around, there was a saw. So anyways, that's all gone. So it's all open and you can just see it. So we'll do that. And then I'm going to stop here because I'm going to go to the end of the station. I want to give you an update on what's going to happen at the end of the station. Great. Thanks. So we're back. We're at the south end of the station, which the passenger room is here. Freight side is on the north end of the station. But I wanted to explain about the Endless Mountains Visitors Bureau gave a grant to the Endless Mountains Heritage Region to install 2 signs in Wyoming County. One of them is going in Tunkhannock, which is the county seat here, where the county that Nicholson is located. And the other one is going to be put in this parcel of land. I mean, I think we're pretty much going to aim for right here. And it'll be an interpretive panel talking about highlights of Wyoming County. So one, it'll be something that people can come look at when they come visit the station. And I've been part of the committee to discuss what's going to be on the station, or on the sign. And so there'll be a QR code for the Nicholson Heritage Association website, as Chuck reminded me that I could certainly talk about that. And if you want to know that, it's www.nicholsonheritage.org, which we keep updated with what's happening with the station. And anyways, it'll also have other information of the byway, which I know I've mentioned this before. The Viaduct Valleyway Scenic Byway is Route 92 and Routes 174. Basically takes you from a little bit west of Nicholson, but going east to Lanesboro. And so you could spend a day, come visit the station, visit the bridge, and then go head out on the Viaduct Valley Scenic Byway and see the Struck Viaduct. So, you know, I think that's all I'll provide for now. You know, we're going to get in the car, and now we're going to head to Factoryville. Hi, we're back. And no, we're not in Factoryville. I apologize, I forgot that we were going to come show you where the new passenger station once stood, up next to the Tunkhannock Creek Viaduct / Nicholson Bridge for us locals, which our videographer had started the segment looking down towards the bridge. So I'm standing in where the passenger station once stood, which, to remind people, it was built in 1915 when the cutoff was built, and they had then had freight service from the station that we just left, and then passenger service was out of this station, which is concrete. I mean, if you look at photos, it was pretty fancy, looked pretty nice. You can't really see it, but it's all concrete. The platform is in front of me, and then basically there was a door here, and so now I'm in where the station would have been. The ticket window, where people would go up to buy tickets, was here, and then on that side was the fancy waiting room. I just saw that they have a fancy flooring. And so in any case, you know, growing up in Nicholson, when I'm a bicentennial baby. So by the time I was cognizant of my surroundings, this was already torn down. There was a fire in, I believe, the early 90s, and then they raised it. They tore it down. So unfortunately, the only thing that's left, like many stations on the new line, like Hot Bottom / Foster, they're gone. So now we will go to Factoryville. All right, Chuck made me do it. We couldn't resist. We're on the top of the Tunkhannock Creek Viaduct. And I mean, everyone knows the stats, but I'll put them out there. The bridge itself is 240 feet above the Tunkhannock Creek. It's 300 feet above bedrock because at some spots they had hit quicksand, so they had to go down further. It's about half a mile long, and I'll move out of the way. So if you look here at the top, you see some places where it looks brand new. It might be about 5 years ago. I'll go back and check to confirm. But CP definitely did some work. Canadian Pacific, who owned the bridge, the line before Norfolk Southern, they cleaned and shaved off the front sides and then repoured concrete, because if you see where it hasn't been redone, it's crumbling. And so Route 92, of course, is below us, that arch, and rocks and stuff was going down on 92, and they were just concerned it could get worse. And so I think we have time. We can take a short video as we're leaving. When they shaved off those fronts, and if you look at photos of the bridge, you can see where, you know, there's nothing that juts out. It's just straight across. And so, you know, that's obviously not original. And then it makes it look kind of weird because the rest of the arches and above the arches, it has that little piece jutting out. And so we'll show you that they just put them over on the side of the road over there. But yeah, it's a great view. I always like coming up here in the fall whenever I try to get home. And now, 100% sure, we are going to Factoryville.
Here we are at Factoryville Tunnel, which you would have just seen the train go through. We finally got a train. It's only taken us 4 years to get a train. This, I don't want to call it a mountain range or hill or whatever that goes in this direction. The original line, the pre-1915 line, which is now Route 11, the two tunnels that went through that hill, which is this, I'll call this linear hill, which is maybe a mile or so in that direction. The tunnels there were called Nicholson Tunnel or Nicholson Tunnels. This is Factoryville. It's just nomenclature, just for your information. 3,926 feet long, or is it 3,629 feet long? I think that's right, 3,629 feet long. If you were to take a train from, let's say, New York City to Binghamton, and people are talking about the possibility of that happening sometime in the future with Amtrak, we'll see, you would go through 4 tunnels. And this would be the 4th tunnel that you would go through. You have the North River Tunnel that goes underneath the Hudson River, Roseville Tunnel on the Lackawanna Cut-Off, Naog Tunnel near just east of Scranton, and Factoryville Tunnel. And on the historic Lackawanna, there were no tunnels beyond this. I mean, all the way up to Buffalo, this was the last tunnel you would go through. Originally, before the cutoffs were built, you would have gone through a total of 6 different tunnels. A couple of those, I won't go into that detail, but essentially, they did manage to eliminate a couple of tunnels along the way. So, that's Factoryville Tunnel. Now, I'm going to turn it over to Josh. He's going to talk about a couple of more things that are here, or I'll maybe put it in that were here.
Great, thanks, Chuck. So behind us is the Factoryville Tower. That was built, time the cutoff was built as well, 1915. And it was used for the spur line that went to the old Factoryville station, that the original one on the original old main line that is no longer here, also burned. Yeah. And so, you know, looking at Thomas Tabor's book, he had said that the spur basically started just east, so like right here of the tower, and traveled on the north side of Route 107 into Factoryville. And we've been scouring Google Maps to see if we can see any indentation from the sky, and we've walked by there. And so, I mean, it looks like that's where it was. The spur line itself was closed in 1940, and according to Thomas Tabor, in that part of basically the downtown of Factoryville, there was a coal dealer, a creamery, and a feed mill. And so anyways, when the spur line closed, then this tower was closed 1941-42. So I was just telling Chuck, myself, you know, growing up in this area, my friend and I have been to this tower many times, not recently, but 20 years ago. I mean, there's no levers left up there because you can actually access the second floor through the back because it's built into a hill. And I mean, there's just nothing left up there. And as you can see, there's lots of graffiti. But I do appreciate the Erie Lackawanna colors right there, you know, that someone painted. And I mean, so you see the tunnels right there. We know from our walking we're about 0.68 miles from where we think the new Factoryville station was, but also no longer. It was torn down. I don't know the years, but we'll find that out. All that's left is like Nicholson and Foster. It's just a foundation. And so we'll go there next.
Okay, here we are at Factoryville Tower. See the old view in the side of the hill, as Josh mentioned. Now let's go and fly in. Thanks to Josh's drone. The tower was made of reinforced concrete. Not well insulated, so it might have been chilly in the wintertime, hot in the summer. You see the spot where the levers would have been that controlled the switches in the area near the tunnel and the signals as well. There's been tremendous reforestation, so you see all these trees. This is all wide open. At one time you could see all around. Can't anymore. Wasn't a lot of extra room here. They kind of squeezed things in. But there you see the side of the tower juts out to give the towermen a better view of the railroad.
All right, we're about 0.68 miles west of the Factoryville Tower and Tunnel, and this is where Chuck and I think the old Factoryville, the new Factoryville station was when they built the cutoff. As you can see, there's the concrete, not foundation, but platform. And again, last time I was up here was probably 20 years ago. I remember seeing the foundation of the station and somewhere in this area. So based on the fact that you have the concrete remnants of the platform here, that most likely the passenger station that was built in 1915 for Factoryville was right here. Beyond there, there used to be looks like a feed mill, and when I was last here, that was actually in business, but now it's not. And so this is a pretty barren area up here. Next, we're going to go to Kingsley. All right, we're here in Kingsley, Pennsylvania, and our videographer is looking railroad west. About 0.6 miles down is the West Kingsley Tower, which controlled the third track that was from Alford, used for passing, and that was closed in '38. We were ambitious, thinking we would be able to see it today, but we don't have the right equipment, so we might see it, try to visit that next time. I have actually seen it a long time ago. At that point, and I know I mentioned this in previous videos, I thought it was in the middle of nowhere, which, I mean, in a sense it is. It's in the middle of nowhere. It's got a basement. There was some railroad paperwork in the bottom when I was there 20 years ago. So anyways, we'll add that to the list of something to visit next time. So somewhere in this general vicinity is where we believe the Kingsley station was on the cutoff. Built 1914, 1915. It was a brick station. And when Steamtown was doing excursions in the 90s, which I've been on a couple, they would come from Scranton to here, switch at Kingsley and go south. But at that time the station was here, and the local historical society was selling food and gifts. But there was a fire, and unfortunately, eventually, I think in the 1990s, but the station was then torn down. So again, guesstimate is that it was in that vicinity. And so, you know, looking that way, we're looking south of Railroad East towards the Kingsley Bridge, and then, of course, Nicholson.
Okay, here we are still at Kingsley, but we're showing you an old shot of the station. and taken the same day a shot from the adjacent water tower looking back at the station site. Now let's move on to Alford. We've been here a couple of times over the last couple of years. Station is gone. There's a ladder which we've never seen before. It's not visible from the ground. The drone picks it up, however. And the tower's in that mass of trees there. We're going to visit that in a sec. Now we're going to pan down to the station site, which is now just a pile of rubble. Now we're looking from the opposite direction, the tower towards the station, which the tower controlled. You see the signal bridge there would have controlled signals, would have controlled switches. I have mixed feelings about showing this with the lever there. There are only a couple levers left. The purpose of an interlocking is to safely prevent a towerman from making a mistake and accidentally or on purpose sending two trains onto the same track and crashing into each other. Okay, here we are back at Nicholson after a relatively long day. We've seen two trains, although at this point our audience has only seen one. Just don't go away, because we have another train coming for you. It was a surprise to us, I'd say, as much as it will be to hopefully you. As usual, I want to thank Josh. You've stuck with us all this time, and we've been talking about, even today, about future episodes, because we couldn't get to everything we wanted to do today, and I'd say we at least have more to do in another episode, maybe two, maybe three. I really don't know, but I certainly want to thank you for your guidance and driving us around today.
Anytime, thank you.
And thank you, and we will do this again. I mean, that's certainly a guarantee. So that's the end of part 30 on the Lackawanna Cut-Off. Hope you look forward to part 31. But before we do the close, here comes a train. So once again, thank you for watching.